Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Soulkation Podcast. I'm super excited because I have a hilarious Tennessean. Can I call it a Tennessean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I love Nashville. Love Nashville. But I have Mr. Gregory Grey on with us today. He is a culture and leadership expert. He has an extensive background in project management, strategic planning, business development, operations management, and human capital. He has a great resume, guys. Okay, just so we're clear. And he's currently the founder and CEO of Great Solutions, and it helps to cater to business owners looking to find more freedom, whether it's freedom from chaos, overwhelm, or even a lack of direction. He helps them build a prosperous business. Gregory, welcome to the Soulkation Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Of course. So you've been in the corporate world for years. So can you explain how that helped you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it was my impetus to escape that. You know, everybody calls it a job or job, just over broke, or sometimes it's a joy of being. But however you describe a job, after about 22, 23 years of corporate space, I was ready to go out and help people. And what that really did to I guess round me out, what I was blessed to have experienced was I was in some very well put together companies, and so I got to touch a lot of different aspects of business that had helped me round out my experience to what I do today. So whether it's human resources or operations, or actually running manufacturing facilities and running divisions and so forth, it really prepared me to speak to a business owner today and knowing what they're going through and the pains that they're going to face, and it kind of prepared me for that. So it was a invaluable experience. It was the best education I could have gotten from a business standpoint, quite honestly.
Yeah. So hands-on experience is the best, because I think a lot of times we're like, this job is stupid. Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing in my life? And I feel like everything always adds up, because there's something that you're touching now that you're going to see in the future. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. If you take it from a worldly view or a spiritual view, either way, nothing that's you're going to experience is not being experienced by somebody before. And so if you find people that have been through that, they can help you get to where you need to be. And it's just a matter of finding people with that experiential knowledge. I mean, I was blessed also, go to university and be educated and so forth, but there was nothing compared to the real life experience.
Yeah. So there are a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are full-time employees and full-time entrepreneurs. So what is your advice to them trying to balance the two worlds, even though it's probably like super overwhelming?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think there's a thing, the terminology we use today is called side hustle, right? There's some people that have jobs and they do a side hustle 10, 15 hours a week on the side. And a friend of mine, Dan Miller, who's also in the Nashville area, he's written a couple of really good books, and he's a pretty well-known guy. 48 Days to Work You Love I would suggest you read that book if you haven't. I recommend that to a lot of people, because he takes a lot of people from the career space to the entrepreneurial space, and sometimes he keeps them and recommends they stay in the career space. So the first thing I'll tell you is you don't have to leave a job just because you've talked to somebody that has and they're happy with what they've done. I was very happy in the corporate world for a long time and was very successful. And you can find your purpose in life in corporate as well as you can as an entrepreneur. So you don't have to leave. I'll say that first.
That's good.
Then I'll also say too, if you have the impetus to go do something that requires you to leave, don't halfway do it. Find a way to do it with all your might. Now, I'm not saying quit your job and go start it. What I'm saying is, in your mindset, get prepared and know that there's an off ramp and an on ramp happening at the same time. So the frustration I see is when somebody dabbles with something for 3 or 4 years and they really find the frustration picking up, because they're like, do I stay? Do I go? And they don't have enough income to leave, but it's causing their, to your point, the balance of their life to fall apart, because they're trying to do this other thing and they put their family and everything else aside for a while they're doing it. I think you need to have a plan. You need to get somebody to help you put that plan together if you can't do it, and then go make the plan happen. Otherwise, just don't start it. Don't play around with it, because it will absolutely drive you crazy. Because I've been there. I mean, I did that at one time, and then I finally went back and got serious and found my way out. So
I agree. And you all, he is a coach, so make sure you all look him up after the interview. I'm definitely gonna put his link in the description, so just check him out and see if your vision lines up with what he can help you do. And clearly, he has an extensive resume, so he can. So, what do you think has been like your biggest lesson when you transitioned over? Like, what did you learn? Was it the time, like having to wake up at 7 or wake up at 5, or what was the biggest lesson you learned from transitioning from corporate to running your own business?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think when you first make the change, the lesson, what you think the lesson is really not the long-term lesson. So there's a short-term lesson, long-term lesson. Short-term lesson is it's going to take a lot more energy than you can ever imagine, because the corporate space, there's things that are handed to you that you take for granted because there's other people doing pieces and parts of that business that you have to now do all of. So the thing that I learned short term was I would have been better suited to get more professionals involved with me sooner, whether it was a CPA, an attorney, a business coach, a financial planner. I wish I'd have got those people involved on the front end versus waiting till I got to it. Okay, now I need help. Let me go find somebody. I think that needs to be part of your strategic plan to start with. So that was the short-term lesson. The long-term lesson, that happened probably 3 to 5 years after, was I should have, and this is going to sound a little funny, but I should have been my authentic self sooner. And I wasn't living a lie. I don't want to say it that way, but I needed to be more dogmatic about my authentic self. I needed to just let it all hang out. And once I did, then things took off. So, for example, right now, I'm doing this and I'm being my authentic self on Fridays. I don't work in my business. And I'm dressed like that. But I thought about, well, do I go clean up and get all fancy and stuff for this video? I said, no, I'm going to be my authentic self. That's who I am. So here I am. Got my farm hat on, my farm clothes. We live on a farm and I do farm stuff on Fridays. And so I've learned to just say, no, I'm going to be me wherever I'm at in whatever situation I'm in, and let that be good enough. And that's actually been the best thing I've ever done, because it's allowed me to resonate with people that I may have missed resonating with because they are looking for authenticity. I could have showed up in a little shirt and tie, had shorts on, you wouldn't have known it, but I could have a shirt and tie on, and looked all pretty, and I'd look like some fancy business guy, and the person that I'm really trying to attract probably isn't that looking for that guy anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
If that makes sense.
Makes so much sense. I actually just discussed with a young lady yesterday, and I told her the hardest thing for somebody to do is just to be themselves, because it's so easy to try to be like an older sibling or a coworker or your boss or somebody on Instagram. It's easy because you don't have to put in effort to be yourself. It's like, okay, let me just copy off her. That lip color looks great on her. Let me try that.
I'm telling you. Well, I never had the lip color issue, but yeah. Right. But no, you're dead right. You look on Instagram and you see like a Brendan Bouchard or somebody that's like big time. You go, wait, I'm going to go start wearing blue shirts like he wears. He knows he always wears a shirt. I'm going to wear a blue shirt. I'm going to talk like him and do like, and then you can't do it because you can't outrun a guy that's being himself. And but he can't be me. He wouldn't look good in this plaid shirt. It just wouldn't fit. It's not his style. So
right,
you have to be who you are. And when you are, I think that's when God leans in your life and says, okay, I'm going to put power and energy behind you and support what you're doing, because your heart has to be completely tied into what you're doing. And of course, I always say, people say, well, follow your heart and you'll be happy. I'm like, well, no, be careful with that. Follow God's heart, or have your heart tied to God's heart. Then you can follow the heart and you can be happy and be fulfilled. But if you follow just your heart, watch out. You may get what you want, and it may not be exactly what you thought. That's those guys living in mansions that have no family and they're completely miserable.
Yes, that's so good. What would you say to husbands whose wives are very entrepreneurial? They have a go-getter attitude, and they're used to them just, going to work and coming home and, participating in the wifely duties. But he's not used to this whole, spending 2 hours, 3 hours on a business or an idea. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, we're supposed to be spending time together. What would you say to a husband that might listen to this podcast?
I'd say one simple statement. support her with all your might and be happy, because I'm telling you, if you've got that kind of spouse, someone that can um, find that purpose, that journey they want to go on, support them with all your might, because you have no idea where that's going to go and how big and how important that could turn out to be, not just for you and your family and, income, that kind of, but who is she trying to reach in the world that God has put a kind of spark in her heart that she needs to touch that nobody else can touch. Matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of mine in South Carolina this week, and she's a spouse just like that. And she's a lady that has taken her career and given it away so she could work from home and do internet stuff and so forth. And anyway, she traded in a career that was, paycheck to paycheck to now she's getting her own business. Well, she's actually making double what she was, but when she started, she wasn't. And her husband was, concerned about it. But, I just sent her a text this week. I said, because she was, I wouldn't say she was down, but she was just kind of in that moment of, am I doing the right thing? I said, who are you going to reach this week that would never be touched by this message if you weren't doing what you're doing? She said, that's all I needed. I'm back at it.
That's so true.
And that's what I would ask, who's not going to be reached if you don't do what God is. I mean, there's a reason that vision is in your heart. If you're tied into the true purpose God has made you for. Now, if it's a selfish, reason, then be careful. But if it's really tied into where you're supposed to be and why you were made and what your talents are in life, then you better go after it. You better go find out what that was all about.
That's good. I'm actually going to send this exact clip to one of my clients. she needs to hear from multiple people in different ways,
Yes.
She has mommy guilt and, wife guilt.
Yeah.
And she just said it's weighing on her. But her dream, her vision will not let her sleep.
Oh, boy. Yeah. That she needs to figure out what her next few steps are. And maybe they're not, throw it all away, but it's just do the right things at the right time and just take that next step,
Yeah, I agree. So what would you say because I know you have daughters, right?
Oh, yes. 2 in high school. Yes.
So what would you say to the women who they have a lot on their plate, but at the same time, they want to date somebody. They want to get to know somebody. What would you say to a person trying to include a relationship in their life?
That's interesting. My 17-year-old daughter just started dating for the first time. We're pretty conservative on how early we'd let them date. But anyway, she's dating a young guy now. Matter of fact, he'll be here in about an hour. And so I've got my gun over here. No, I mean, I've got to, no, he's a good young man, but I actually had this discussion with her the other day because she's 17. She's a straight A student. She has big plans to go to medical school. She's doing all these extracurricular activities, sports, and schedule's full. And I've told her, I said, first off, work on the critical few. What's the critical few things that you're going to do that are going to take you where you want to go? If you play tennis or not, or softball or not, or whatever, is that going to matter whether you go medical school or not? And she's like, well, maybe not. Okay, well then those things they're sacrificable. The young man, I don't know if he is or not. You have to make that decision. But at 17, I would tell you it's probably not critical, but I didn't tell her not to do it either, right?
Right.
So that's a 17-year-old. If you're older, if you're in your 20s, this is what I was talking to her about. When you get in your 20s and you're in med school or you're in residency and these decisions come along, you better have your purpose and your plan figured out. And that person, if they're really supportive of you and really love you and care for you like they should, it won't be a big issue because they'll know, hey, you're on this path and I don't want to knock you off this path. So it's really a good test for that individual because if they can't fit your world that you've made, then they're really not a fit for you anyway. So, I don't think if you have to, I think if you have to work hard at it, it's probably not right. And so you should give it some solace and some discernment and think about that a little deeper and get some people around you to listen, not just your very close friends, because they'll tell you whatever you want to hear, but some people that are wise, like if I'm a young lady, I want to talk to someone that's in their 50s or 60s and say, hey, look, I just want to throw something at you. What do you think about this? Because there's some wisdom in this world we need to harness. And, I'm always trying to talk to people that are wiser than me, which is not hard to do, by the way. But, I try to do that on a daily basis because that's what grounds me. That's what keeps me going the right direction myself. Because I have great ideas, entrepreneurs, we have all kinds of ideas. But you, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it, right? So we have to. So going back to this situation, having somebody in your life is important, but it's only important if they see you as important.
Yeah, I agree. 777%.
Oh, I like the sevens.
Number of completion.
Yes.
So how have you balanced family and business? What is your thing that you best do when it comes to keeping that balance, or as Lisa Nichols say, keeping that harmony? Because she said
Oh
it's
my.
hard to balance. So what is your must?
Well, I can tell you, I really didn't do a good job of that back in my 30s.
Okay.
So I'll have to tell you just a real quick story. I was thought I was a big shot. I was in my 30s. I was an executive, and I was, doing deals and running companies and that kind of stuff. And so the CEO of the company I worked for at the time, his name was Jeff. Jeff and I had to jump in. He was up in Detroit. I was here in Tennessee. He flew down, picked me up in a Learjet. We flew down to Alabama. We were down there looking at some property to buy and so forth. And we were in a Jim and Nick's barbecue restaurant, which used to be one of my favorite places. I say used to be because I had to give them up. I was about 60 something plus pounds. I don't know how much, I'm like 205 now. And so I was a little overweight, and we were sitting at the table and we'd finished our deal that day. And he looked across at me. He goes, "Hey, Greg, can I tell you something, friend to friend? And I know you report to me, but can I just tell you very bluntly?" And I go, "Well, sure, Jeff." He goes, "You're fat." I went, "Oh, thank you. I appreciate that." I said, "Can I have a moment?" So I got up and I walked to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I had barbecue sauce all over my face. And I was like, "He's right. I'm fat." So I took a moment. I came back out and I said, "Jeff, I think you just changed my life." I said, "The only problem is I was only halfway through this rack of ribs. I wish you'd wait until I finished this rack of ribs because I at least could enjoy the rest of them. But now I can't eat them." And so I went on a soul searching, I guess you would call it, introspective search there for a while. I went, what is wrong? And I had a couple of things happen, and I started going, okay, I'm not balanced. My career is fantastic. I'm working 70 hours a week, making all this money and being a big shot, but I'm not home a whole lot, and I'm fat. And, come to think of it, I don't think I've read the Bible in a few weeks. And I went, yeah, I may just be a one horse pony here, and so I better do something about it. So that was that was a long time ago, but it should have been about 2005, I think it was. And that put me on a journey of trying to figure this thing out. So by about 2007, I started getting this thing right. And I exercised, lost a lot of weight, started doing triathlons, got a lot closer to my family, and on and on and on. All these things came into view again.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that I left the corporate space in 2010 and started my thing is because I wanted, and I'll say balance, but I wanted more than balance. I call it beyond balance, because balance is a misnomer. I know a lot of balanced people out there that still they're not doing much. They're kind of just floating through life. So balance isn't the answer. It's called controlled energy. So this week I may have my head down working on my business all week. My family knows it, but the next week I set the business aside and I focus on them. And then, every morning I have a ritual, and I'll talk about that in a second, which I think will answer your question, that grounds me every day. So even though I may be all day in on business one day, and it's going to be a 12-hour day, and I'm doing stuff online and marketing, and I can't stop doing that. Otherwise I forget what I'm doing. I have to do it and then finish it and then get done. Or maybe I have a day full of just podcasts that I'm doing or editing, but then the next day I may just take the day and half a day and I'm out with my family doing whatever I need to do. It's more of a controlled energy than it is a balance.
Yeah.
It appears as a balance.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to you.
It sounds like you got to figure it out if you say I'm balanced. But I love that controlled energy because it's a choice.
It is a choice.
Yeah.
And there's moments where you have to go deep in your business. You may have to, if you're doing a launch or something, you may have to spend 3 days, almost sleepless nights, getting something done. Then after it's done, you can go do something else and rest or recuperate. So I think the key is making sure, God rested on the seventh day, and I think we all have to rest at least one day a week. So we pretty much do that around here. We, the Sunday is, we don't work and all that kind of thing, unless an ox is in a ditch. And I mean, literally mean it. We got cows and stuff out here. Sometimes one of them will get in a ditch. So, but, but what I do every morning, we get up early every morning. I'm up by 5 every morning, usually by 4, but for sure by 5 every morning. And I go through, prayer meditation, then go through affirmations, and then I go through a visualization. And then I go through a portion of reading. I read scripture, and then I read a book that develops my mind. And then I journal. After all that, I journal to kind of get my thoughts rolling day. And that has been incredible for me because it gets me pointed in the right direction every day. If I don't do that in a day, like if I've had to get up and go early to a plane or something, it just really messes me up. It really sets me sideways. So very intentional on that, and that's the one aspect of and then I exercise after the journaling, by the way, and that's the one thing I do that has really, I think, given me that appearance of balance when it's not really balanced. It's really just my energy is right, my mind is right, and I'm ready to tackle whatever comes that day.
I agree. It's called. Have you read The Miracle Morning?
Absolutely, I have. That's where I got some of those ideas from. Some of them I already had, but I have read that book. It's a very good book, Hal Elrod.
Yeah, I agree. So what's next for you? Like what's the next plan for your business? What are you looking to do? Are you about to put on an event? What can people like follow you on, or what's going on there?
Well, we just launched a new mastermind for people that have just bought a business or started a business or just in the middle of starting a business, because I've done a lot with people that own a business, and those people are kind of getting left out. So I just started that mastermind, and we've got a few people in it. We're adding a few people more to that. You can go to businessownerfreedom.com/mastermind if you're interested in a mastermind with us. And if you've owned a business a long time, we have masterminds for those too. But so that's something we just started, was that mastermind. The thing that I'm really excited about is, of course, I do a lot of business coaching. I have a lot of clients, but we're launching this July the 4th, which is Freedom Day, right? But it'll start up July 4th. We're not ready quite yet to put the link out yet, but it'll probably be in a few weeks. I'll let you know. But when it's all ready, we're going to be taking pre-qualifications for this. We're starting what's called Elite Business University. And Elite Business University is going to be a very low price month-to-month membership that you can join this university, and you can get monthly calls like this with a group of other business owners where I'll answer questions just live. And we're going to do things such as have courses and have a community and all these things that are going to be built around the business owner community, because, business owners come through and they coach with me, and then they get done coaching. They're like, okay, now what? And I'm like, well, I don't know. We can keep coaching. And they're like, well, I don't need all that. That's too much. It's a big engagement, and it's thousands of dollars versus $100 a month. So we're gonna price it somewhere around $97 a month. Okay. There's going to be a beta version starting at $37, and so whoever gets in it, there's only going to be 100 of them at $37, and whoever gets in at $37 will be locked in for life as long as they stay at $37. So we intend it to be a really strong community and a very communicable community where we're on there at least once, if not twice a month, answering questions and bringing guest speakers and things of that nature. Just to lean into the small business owner life. And it's not going to be just about business. It's going to be business and life, because it all goes together. I mean, it's the whole thing. So that's what I'm excited about right now.
I'm super excited for you. So for those that don't know what a mastermind is, can you explain that to them?
Oh, yeah. Good question. So back in the day, Benjamin Franklin started one of the first masterminds that we know of that's recorded. There's probably many years, but he called it a junto, which is just a group of men or women, or men and women together that get together and literally act sort of like a pseudo board of directors for each other. So the way we do masterminds is we'll put somebody as man or woman in the middle, or call it the hot seat, once a week, and we'll let them talk about their business, and all of us will look in and kind of help them get their answers on that. Next week it's somebody else, but we do big wins, and we go through and we sometimes read books together and things of that nature. But what it really is it's a core group of people that you learn to connect with and grow with and thrive with, and learn how to be better either in business or life with. And you get to be really close friends with a lot of these people, and you share very intimate things at times. Don't let that scare you. I don't mean to scare anybody away. Over time, it makes sense, and you want to go to this safe place and let things out and be transparent, and let these people kind of help you figure things out before you go out and make a big mess out of it, right? Because that, when you do make a mess, you can bring it back. We'll help you figure that out too. But that's what the mastermind is all about. And I can tell you, I've been in. This is my third mastermind I've been in personally. I've ran several, but and I've over the years. And I tell you what, every time I'm in a mastermind, it has just been an incredible experience. So we're bringing that to business owners as well.
I agree. Okay, so I'm gonna do some rapid soul questions.
Okay.
First, let everybody know what I gained from this wonderful interview. Number one, seek a life called controlled energy instead of looking for harmony. You don't have to start a business just because it sounds like it's the thing to do. Running your business will require more energy than you think. You need a strategic plan before you leave your job. Mm-hmm. Have your heart tied to God's heart and then follow his heart. Is the person you're attached to your purpose? That's a question worth asking. And if you have to work hard, it's probably not right. And that's something to observe. Those were all good. So some rapid soul questions. The first thing that comes to your mind. Number one, name a person that you think is really funny.
Well, I've always liked Robin Williams. He was one of my favorites.
He's hilarious. Yeah.
Yes.
What is the last song you listened to?
I listened to, I had to look at my iPhone. It was Whatever It Takes by Imagine Dragons.
Okay. Imagine Dragons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go figure, right?
What is one product that you must use every single day, no matter what it is?
Well, I don't know if you call it a product, but I have to drink copious amounts of water every day. I just constantly drink water. Is that okay? Is that a product or?
Yeah, it's a product.
Okay. All right.
If you could go to dinner with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, well, do they have to be alive or can they be dead or alive?
Alive or dead, yeah.
Well, my dad passed away a few years ago, so he would be the obvious choice. But if I had to choose somebody that's more celebrity type, I would say Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Why Teddy Roosevelt?
I've always been a fan. I love his quotes. I love his energy. I like the way he just did things the way he was supposed to do them. If you read his history, he blazed trails. He didn't really follow anybody else's trail. And I think he attacked things head on. I mean, he didn't hold anything back. He just went after it. So, yeah.
Okay. Besides the Bible, what's a book that you think everyone should read?
The Big Leap.
The Big Leap.
Yes. If you've not read The Big Leap, you need to read it. It will absolutely challenge your mind. I read it 3 times a year.
I love it. And I'm definitely going to include your book, not your book, the mastermind and your link to your website on the show notes. So if you don't mind sending that on over, I'll make sure everyone gets it.
I will absolutely do that.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for coming on the Soulkation Podcast. I think it's been an amazing interview.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Make sure you all share this episode with your best friend. Make sure you let me know what you thought about it. Leave a review on iTunes. And if you really love the interview, make sure you give it 5 stars. And I will see you all on the next episode of the Soulkation Podcast. Have a good one.